Hey guys, welcome back to the Fitness for Life podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Lohr with Lohr Sports Performance. And today I have joining with me Mike Doehla, the founder of StrongerU and the co-owner of Bavona's Simply Pasta.
Yeah.
One of my favorite groups to follow is just watching that intro every morning. So Mike, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you. And it's good to have you here.
Dude, thank you, Jackson. It's funny to found a nutrition company and also a pasta company. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's fun.
definitely some nice irony there for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So Mike, for my audience here, why don't you tell people about your story a little bit and kind of how you got to where you are, and we can get into it.
Yeah, this is I joke on every podcast that this could take a long time, or I could
Right.
really shorten it and tell you the version that like sounded really easy and quick. So I'll try to go in the middle somewhere. But my real quick story was regular guy, went to community college, didn't know what I wanted to do in life, worked in human resources and banking. I wanted to get into the fitness industry somehow, so I started a small CrossFit gym in my garage. Didn't really work out, didn't really know what the heck I was doing. So I pivoted, which is the fancy startup term, to do something different when the first thing isn't working. I
Right.
went to online nutrition because I could do that in addition to the full-time job. With the gym and the training, I couldn't really do it because I worked about 45 minutes away. I worked like a typical like 8:30 to 5 schedule. So I wasn't getting home until almost 6 o'clock. So people couldn't really work out with me, even if they wanted to. So
Yeah.
I did the thing that made more sense to me. It married the skills that I had, which was problem solving nutrition for people and spending a lot of time on the internet. And this company kind of blew up through word of mouth. People were just getting really, really awesome results. I was able to quit my full-time job in the year after, about 13 months after, started hiring other coaches, ended up becoming one of America's fastest growing companies on the Inc. 5000 list. I think it was 2020 we made it. And then I sold the company in 2021. Never intended on selling the company, just had a good opportunity to, I guess, settle down with my family and still kind of talk about nutrition. I still worked for the company for about 15 months, 18 months, something like that. And then I just decided to hang it up and still just talk about nutrition for fun. This is what I always wanted to do. It's just fun for me. I think, I'm on a big Paul Graham kick, who is like in the Silicon Valley startup world. He's got these amazing essays, and he talks a lot about like finding the work for you that doesn't seem like work. It just seems like play. And for me, that was it. Like, I just love giving advice. I love helping people out with what I think is such a difficult problem for so many. And it's so much simpler than the industry makes it out to be. It's not easy, but it is a very simple process to eat better. And that's just what I like to do. And I was very lucky to, again, marry what I think I was good at with what I wanted to do. And here we are today, just sitting at home and probably going to hear a crying baby in the background at some point. But my wife's home too, so we should be okay.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Like
Yeah,
I think you're really living the dream of like getting to do what you want to do,
yeah,
having worked hard obviously to build that company well, and be able to sell it. And then just like, I know you're constantly with your family these days,
yeah,
and we see that on Instagram all the time. It's really cool.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I reflect every single day and realize I am a lucky person. I am very, very, very lucky to be in this position. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
So you worked with, coaches, you worked with tons of people throughout, your years at StrongerU. What to you were the biggest challenges that people were facing when they came to you?
Yeah, most of our clients were general fat loss, like, everyday people. We've had some high level athletes, we've even helped some celebrities, but most people were just like moms and dads that just wanted to lose weight and feel a little bit better. So the biggest challenge for them was actually losing the weight and keeping it off and knowing who to listen to, which I think was the genesis for me starting Stronger U. Was like I wanted to just be the thing that like cut all the crap, just like follow the simple stuff and you're going to get what you want. And I understand, like, if you're not in the industry like us, you don't know like what's legit and you don't know how to figure it out. Like, I'm sure maybe you're the same. Even like in 2012, 2013, 14, I was still confused. I still thought if I ate beans, it was bad because of the paleo diet. So, like, I can't blame people who are busy parents who don't spend the time that we spend learning this stuff. And then they
Right.
come across some influential people that seem like they make sense. They say some things that, like, oh yeah, of course sugar is bad. Of course meal timing is what I need to focus on. It's like neither of those statements are really true, and I'm going to explain to you why. Like, you can have some sugar, and you might not have to worry about perfect meal timing. Depending on who you are, right?
Right.
But those are the things. The biggest issue for people is just they're just confused and they don't have the tools to do the simple stuff. And that's what I wanted to provide.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in working with, the everyday person, what do you think what were some characteristics of people who had the most success with you guys?
Yeah, the planners always did very well. People who
Hmm.
just kind of like sat down the day before and thought about what they were getting into the next day, whether it was planning like their entire days of eating,
Hmm.
their schedule with their family and their friends or work, when they're going to work out. So, like, if somebody can put the workout on the calendar, like,
Yeah.
have that meeting with yourself, right? Like, everybody takes all our time on our calendars, but we never give time to ourselves on our calendars.
Yep.
So, like, that's a big one. Not giving up too early, which again, I don't blame people because like our competitors out there were saying like we'll give you 10 pounds in a week and it's like, ooh, maybe water weight and you might feel like crap. So I don't really blame people for thinking they need really quick results. So, like, tempering those emotions and having people realize like how long this could take, which is still not a very long time. And when you factor in um, the ability to maintain those results,
Right.
it's even shorter. So you could argue some of these fads that people jump into are much longer processes than the sound, like, flexible approach. In addition to that, like, challenges where like people didn't have support, like, and
Mm.
it could be as like easy as just having the conversation with your partner or your friends or your coworkers, like, hey, this goal is important to me. I need your support. I love you. You love me. Blah blah blah. We're in this together. When you do X, it makes me want to do Y. So can you help me out? And a lot of times, like, not pointing fingers, it was always like the husband that, like, generally, men can live on more calories or survive on more calories. So when they eat a pizza and have some beers, it doesn't hit them as hard as it might, their wives. So,
Hmm.
like, the guys listening, like, make sure you're supportive in that sense because going out to eat could be 60% of your daily calories, but it could be 120% of her daily calories.
Mm.
So you got to support, the people that have the goal that are going to ultimately make them happier and healthier, which is going to make your life better as well. So those are some of the things that I think. I could probably rattle off like 100 things, but that'll probably give us some stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's like
No,
not to cut you off, but it's like the
you're good.
basic stuff, right? It's like just plan, don't have unrealistic expectations, and get a support system because this is like your team to a better life, and that includes like coaches and everyone around you.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be, like you said, coworkers can often be a great support
Yeah.
system if you don't have that support elsewhere.
Right.
Coach, all kinds of people can be that
Yeah.
person. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say I've definitely seen where we overcomplicate things.
Yep.
And one of the things I think people don't realize is you can make compromises
Yep.
on, like, things don't have to be perfect.
Right.
Um, in order for you to achieve your goals. And I think a lot of people, especially like perfectionists, if they don't hit that, it can
Yeah.
really cause them to struggle. And so, what are some of the, just common compromises you came up with in working with your clients that came up regularly?
Yeah, so we were fans of having people track what they eat because one of the
Right.
biggest issues in life in general is like your assumption is not the reality. And I'm sure you have seen it. Like, we've seen it thousands of times where someone was like, I eat really well, but I'm not losing weight. And
Mm,
eating well is the perception. Like they could be eating well, but they could be eating more calories.
yeah.
But it's usually not that. It's usually I'm eating well some of the time, but I'm
Okay.
not eating well the other time. And those calories on the other time equal the same number of calories as the eating well time. And what do we have? We have accidental maintenance. Someone that wants to lose weight, but is accidentally maintaining,
Yep.
and they're psychologically dieting in their head. They're like, yeah, I'm on a diet, I'm doing well.
Yeah.
But physiologically, they're not in the right energy balance to lose the weight. So that was like the biggest thing, is like just figuring out like how much are people eating so we can adjust from there, but not making it so precise where they feel like, for example, if they don't eat 120 grams of protein, they are off the diet. Like if they eat 113, 132, like it doesn't matter because, some days you'll be up, some days you'll be low. On
Right.
average, you'll be about here. So it's like in archery, like, okay, you don't hit the bullseye, but you're close. And I'm not, uh, I don't have the technical know-how about archery, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think if you get close to the bullseye, you get a lot of points. So in my version of archery, that's how it works. Don't know if it really works like that, but if you're close, you're good enough. And the problem with people's experience with diets is they're either on or they're off, which I understand because a lot of these diets are literally created like that, like the
Yeah.
paleo diet or the keto diet, intermittent fasting. Like if you eat breakfast, you are off the diet on intermittent fasting.
Right.
If you eat a donut or gummy bears, you're off the keto diet. If you're on paleo and you eat, I don't know, like a white piece of bread, you're off the diet. So people treat these diets as on-off switches when they should treat them as dimmer switches, where it's like
Mm,
sometimes it's bright, sometimes it's dim, but as long as it's on, you're going to do okay. You're going to see the light, you're going to be fine, you're going to move towards your goal. And it's very hard because there are a lot of people who are like very, especially like the finance people where like numbers matter. Like those were the funniest ones. Like if they were off by like 2 grams, they would lose it. And I'm like,
yeah.
dude, you gotta chill. Like the wind could blow or you could cook your chicken for 30 seconds longer and the water content is different. So even if you hit perfect calories, macros, whatever, you never actually hit perfect calories or macros because you don't even know what your body's absorbing. It's just, and that's the argument against calorie counting, right? People are like, oh, your body doesn't absorb an apple like it does a gummy bear. And it's like, yeah, but that's not the point. Again, some things are high, some things are low. On average, it's going to be around this. And that's what we
Mm,
need. We need people to give us targets so we can adjust from there. We don't need to worry about how perfect the targets are.
right. Yeah. No, that's great. Uh, I was talking so this past weekend I went to the Super Coach conference
Oh yeah, I was
in
jealous,
Reston.
man. I saw a bunch of our colleagues there, and I was like,
Yep.
man, I if I knew about it, maybe I would have went. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It was a good time. I use their
yeah,
software, so I
good, good,
figured I'd show up. And it's
yeah,
only a short drive for me. But
oh, good.
uh, uh, Justin Kavanaugh, Coach Cav, was there talking through like an example he had with one of his athletes, Johan Blake, right? One of the
Mhm.
best sprinters in the world, if not the best at one point, right? Before his Olympic trial, loses completely, doesn't sleep, right? And he's FaceTiming Cav, go, hey, what do I do? What do I do? He's like, hey, you've done everything right up to this point. It's gonna be okay. Like
Yep,
one mess up is not going to kill you. And he goes out and sets a record on that track, right?
it's
And
amazing.
it's like if they can do feats like that, excuse me, if they can do feats like that, why would we not be able to, just pick it up, take one mistake and
Yeah.
move on from it and be fine. I definitely I see so many people who get into the paleo and the keto, and they're like, especially with keto, it's like, oh, I went over my grams of sugar for the day. Oh my gosh, and it's like,
Like okay,
yeah,
okay. Who
so
cares? Like we need to stop convincing ourselves everything is terrible,
right,
even if it is terrible. Like the
right,
Olympian misses sleep, which is one of the most important things in the entire world,
yeah,
and he still does well because he convinced himself with his coach's help that everything was going to be okay. And that
yep,
was like a big part of what we did. Like I used to joke that my Monday morning was just helping people back up from the ledge of the scale
Yep.
issues. Every Monday morning in our Facebook group, oh, my scale is up 2 pounds. Oh, it's up 3 pounds. Oh, it's up 4 pounds. And again, like, I don't blame these people because they don't know how this works. But what happens on weekends? People eat more than they usually do on the weekdays. It's just an escape from reality. They go out to eat. They don't plan as well. So, here's a side tip: prep food on Thursday so it gets you through the weekend so you don't
Mm,
order all the stuff. But every Monday morning I would wake up and I'd be like, all right, here we go. Like, I got to explain to them that humans are essentially sponges, and a lot of different behaviors and actions make them hold water weight. So the next few days, they basically get squeezed and they lose the water weight and everything is fine.
right.
So these things happen, but it's all about how we feel about it and how we, sometimes have to manipulate ourselves into realizing that it's not a big deal. Like, if you can't do something about it, you have to learn to accept it. If you can do something about it, you need to take steps to change it. Sometimes it's hard. Most of the time it is hard, but it's almost always worth it. And the return on investment in taking care of yourself with fitness and nutrition, it's going to pay out every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, just, for the audience listening, if someone has not yet, hired a coach, doesn't quite want to commit to that point, but doesn't know where to start, what are like the starter steps for you? Like, okay, if you take these, 3 or 4 actions, you can do as many as you want, but these few actions, what did those look like to get started?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, and this is kind of hard because I think of it sometimes. I'm like, how does anyone like off the street know who to pick as a coach? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of people out there, like, it's a lot of people that look the same. Not physically, but like your information is similar to my information. That person's information is like this gal's information. So it's like, if you look for a coach, like, I don't even know where you start, right? You go on Instagram, you go to local groups, like, you have to find someone that's actually good.
Yeah.
And I built my business around referrals and word of mouth.
Mhm.
And my big thing was like, I never wanted to be the one that sold people on the program. I wanted to give our clients the tools and resources to sell their friends on it.
Mm,
So, like, ask your friends like who they're using. Look around online and see who keeps popping up and who people are talking about.
right.
Not just people in the industry, but people who use these people in the industry. And then just like, maybe you have to just take a chance. Like, be careful not to follow these like fitness influencers that just have like a million followers who are doing weird movements on their Instagram. Like, they're probably not even actually doing those movements in their regular workouts. And we could say, because we have experience, like, they didn't build those bodies with those crazy movements and those
Right.
crazy diets. So, sometimes like the underdog is the one you have to go to. And that was me for a while. Like, I was just a dude saying some stuff that seemed to make sense. And I had customers that were like, yeah, this guy, just listen to what he says. And that's how you have to find the coach. And then you take a chance. Maybe you spend a few $100. I don't know. But listen to what they say, do what you can, like, communicate, and then, like, it's going to be the best investment in your life. Like, no BS. Like, I'm just repeating what our customers told us. Like,
Mm,
this is, other than like marrying my I remember this quote, other than marrying my wife and having kids, this is the best thing I've ever done. And it's like, it wasn't us that was the special thing. It was that,
right.
like, we just happened to be the one that helped him. It could have been you, it could have been someone else. Like, it's just that these people decided to do something about it and they got help. They didn't do it on their own, which is like the big, I think, not to make it like a sales pitch for coaches, but like, what do you think is going to happen when you have help versus when you're alone?
Right.
Like, you have a guide, and anywhere in life, like, you do better when you have help. So that's the sales pitch for coaches. It's like, man, just get a coach and see what happens.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. When you're working with a client, when you first start working with them, what are like the first things you address with them?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard to say. Like, just figuring out like what their experience is with
Mm,
like nutrition, dieting, stuff like that, because that will tell me like what I could do for them on this side. And now, like, to be clear, I don't coach right now.
Right.
So this is what I did in like my past life.
Yeah.
Just figuring out like where they're coming from, not necessarily being like, hey, what do you eat now? Because, and I've joked about this before, like if you ask someone what they're eating now, they give you the highlight reel. It's like
Right.
Instagram, right? TikTok, that only the cool stuff shows up. Only the lean meats, the salads, and the yogurt. They don't tell you about, oh, every night I snack, or every night I drink wine, or every night or every weekend pizza and beers with the guys. They don't share that. So I, sounds weird, but I don't care what people used to eat, because if I ask, they're not going to tell me the truth because they feel like they will be judged. They will not be judged. And that's something I want to be clear, like with potential customers for or clients for any coaches. We're not going to judge what you used to do. We're going to look at like what you do when you're with us, and just figuring out like based on what they're telling me on this intake form, I'm going to have them eat about this much. I'm going to have them check in. I want to have them weigh themselves because I want to see what's going on. I like to see waist measurements. So if the scale is being a stubborn jerk, like we can see things are happening. I want to know sleep. I want to know workouts. I want to know how they're feeling in terms of hunger and overall like well-being. And then I'll just make adjustments from there, because it's never about where you start. It's about the trends over time. And I think being a good coach is about how you adjust and address all that stuff.
Right.
So like, you come across people online, they're like, what are the macros I need to eat for weight loss? This calculator said this. And it's like, all right, well, that might work, but it's just making you as a human into a math equation. And we don't know like if that math equation is going to work,
Right.
or if, you're doing it in the dark. Like you have to just do it and see what happens. So if someone's trying to do this stuff alone, I always tell them like take a few calculations and take the average and then see what's happening over
Yeah.
time. But again, if they're doing it by themselves, they're probably not as adherent as they would be with us.
Right.
So is the math bunk at that point? So
Right.
yeah, it's tough, man. This
Yeah.
food stuff is tough for people. But that's why you exist, right?
Right.
People exist, the coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
that's great. We're getting close to where we want to be on time here. Is there anything else you want to leave, viewers with? Anything
Yeah.
else, pieces of advice that you would recommend?
Yeah. I mean, just accept like you can make changes even if it was difficult. You probably have to address some of the things that you don't want to give up, and you have to acknowledge like people just generally eat out way too much. They might drink alcohol way too much. They snack way too much and they don't realize it because a lot of it is distracted. They're doing it while they're on a computer in front of a TV, while reading a book, sometimes dangerously doing it while they're driving. So like these are little things. Like there's probably like one or two things that most people could do and they could move towards their goals in a pretty rapid way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't acknowledge it because they think too much like that I just need to eat like vegetables and lean meats and things like that. It's like, yeah, but you can do that. But if you're still doing all those other things, like it's not going to make the biggest difference. So you just have to acknowledge like, what am I willing to do for the long term? And you might not have to do all of those things forever, because eating the amount to lose weight is different than eating the amount to maintain. So like it might sometimes be temporary, but these are little adjustments people should be making, and they're going to do great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much. I
Cool.
appreciate you coming on and just sharing some of the wisdom you've gained over the years. Where can the people find you if they want pictures of beautiful little girls and pasta?
Yeah, thank you, Jackson. At Mike Doehla. That's like my Facebook, my Instagram. I'm very bad for the algorithms. The algorithms of these things don't like me because I'm not just one thing. Like I will post fitness stuff and then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, here's my Legos and here's my family and
Yeah.
here's the pasta. So the algorithm is like, I don't know what to do with you. But that's
Yeah.
where I'm at Mike
Well,
Doehla.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, man.